I have to tell you, I've been prepared for the leaving, but not for the kindness. And President, thank you for that. Thank you, choir, for that lovely music. Brightly Beams has a particular meaning to me and to our family, and I'm grateful that the choir would sing that today. I have to tell you, the Lord has been very kind to me. One of my goals before I left the college was to see our devotional hall packed. And thanks for coming. No, I know you're not coming for me. But really, if you're in the front, you ought to look around. It's just full. It's full. There's a few empty seats, but it's almost to capacity. And what a great blessing and kindness to me. Now, I know I'm not the reason that many of you are here. I'm kind of the warm-up act. Reminds me of a story that I heard a member of the 70 was speaking in general conference, and he was speaking after one of the 12 and before another one of the 12. So he went to one of the 12 he was speaking just before, and said, why would they schedule me to be between you two brethren? And this good member of the 12 said, well, I don't know. I suppose it's to make us look good. I kind of think my job is to make the rest of the afternoon or the rest of the meeting look good by comparison. Speaking of looking good, the president was really kind in that introduction. Most of you don't know me, but when you look at me, what do you see? I mean, besides great features and, you know. If you were to hear that introduction of somebody, you would think, oh my goodness, maybe a privileged person. But do you want to know what I see? That's what I see. I started out as a plowboy. My first real job was at age 12 driving a tractor, and my job was to plow the field. Now, there's a number of things you have to worry about when you drive a tractor, and we won't talk about all of them, but probably the most constant worry is to keep the line straight. That's the hardest part, actually. And to do that, you have to pick a landmark. It's a tree or a shrub or something, and you just drive to that, and you turn around and go the other way, and there's another landmark, and you do that all day. And boredom is the real enemy here. Tractors don't go real fast at about walking speed, so it's easy to get distracted. And if you get distracted, your lines tend to look bad. And so for the first few hours on every Monday morning, I was pretty good about straight lines. But by Friday, not so straight. And yeah, you know, I was 12, and it's easy to get distracted by birds or squirrels or whatever. And now, I've also had my fair share of experience cutting, baling, and stacking hay. It's kind of how I grew up. Just so you know, this is information you'll never use again, but ranch hands are paid in two ways when they do hay. It's they're paid $100 a month, or they're paid a penny a bale. Now, the farmers are pretty smart. They give you that option. You're going to make a lot more money if you charge a penny a bale, but you got to count the things. And you're out in the fields from 7 in the morning till 10 at night with an hour and a half for lunch. That's a lot of bales. And somewhere about 2 o'clock, you get a little punchy because of the heat and the fatigue, and you lose count. So, you know, I got paid $100 a month for a long time. Needless to say, I didn't save up very much money for my mission doing this. So the real question that really ought to be on your mind is, how did somebody like that end up in this place? How did I go from there to here? And maybe what might be the lessons that you would have that would help you to know how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And I'd like to share, if I could, just quickly, 7 points that are things that I've learned along the way that help me to understand how to get from the plow to the podium here today. First, be obedient. I can't overstate this one enough. This is the biggie. If you want to underline something, underline this one. Of all the things that you can do, if you can be obedient to the commandments, you're going to be just fine. Now, I learned on my mission that the church was true, but something happened on my mission that I hope happens to all of you, and that is at a certain day, at a certain time, in a certain circumstance, I said to myself, how far in am I going to be? How committed am I going to be? And I made a commitment to God, a promise to Him and to myself that I would be all the way in. I remember distinctly looking back at when I left the building where I made that commitment, looking back up at the window and thinking to myself, I will never be the same. And that has been true for me, and it will be true for you. If you make a commitment to always be obedient all the way in, that you're there. Now, it doesn't mean you're perfect, but you're all the way in. Then God can do amazing things with you. But first, you have to be obedient. So if you want to be successful, if you want the Lord to guide you and help you, be all the way in. Make a commitment that you mean and promise yourself and God that you'll do everything that He asks of you. Second thing, and thank you for helping me from up there in the booth. The second item is to expect more of yourself. When I was just brand new off the farm and coming to BYU at the time, I met Heather, and she was really cute. She was also really smart. I didn't know that at the time. I remember one day sitting with her, feeling pretty full of myself, because here I was, again, a plowboy at BYU, and I was earning B's, and I was pretty excited about that. And we were sitting there in the library, and I said to Heather, I'm getting B's. And there was this long pause. And she said, and you're good with that? And I thought to myself, well, I was. And from that moment on, I started to watch her. And I noticed that she studied different than I did, that her manner of going about learning was entirely different than mine. And I started to mimic her. And the more I mimicked her, I got better. My grades got better. I never got as good as she is, but I was able to increase my grades to the point that I expected more of myself. Now, the Lord needs powerful men and women. Why not you? Why not now? You just have to expect more of yourself and ask yourself to do more than you think you can do, and the Lord will be kind to you. The third item is to work hard. Now, the Lord can do a lot with you if you're willing to work hard. Think of Nephi and his journey and what he did. His bow broke and his brothers whined. And what did he do? He went to work. He got to the shore and his brothers whined. And what did he do? He got to work. And he worked hard. I don't think that was easy stuff. He got to the new land. There was nothing here. And he built a civilization that's lasted for centuries. Amazing. He worked hard. The Lord can do great things with you if you'll work hard. Now, from my experience, part of working hard is getting up early. So you should look at yourself and say, when do I get up? And if I'm getting up early enough to get a good start on the day. And also be willing to inconvenience yourself. You cannot work hard and have it be convenient. It's always inconvenient. But if you're willing to do it, the Lord will bless you and help you and strengthen you. Fourth, you ought to learn to trust God to make something of you, more than you can make of yourself. My career goals for myself were much less than how it's turned out to be. If I'd have gotten what I hoped for when I thought I was being lofty, I wouldn't be here. What the Lord has done is truly amazing. Now, this is not a passive thing, right? This is an active way of being able to expect the Lord to do more with you, but you have to do your part. I love the story of the parable of the sower. You know that parable, throw the seeds, and we talk about stony ground and rocky ground. And we sometimes skip over the good ground, right? Some 30, some 60, some 100. Well, what do you want to be? Do you want to be 30 or 60 or 100? Now, I know from experience on the farm that the way you get a better crop is you put fertilizer in the field. So you have to work at the field to make it more fertile so that the crops grow. And if you do that, you get a bigger yield. So I don't think the Lord is saying, you're a 30, and I think you're a 60, and you back there, you can be the 100 in there. I don't think he does that. I think he says, how much do you want to be? Do you want to be a 30 or a 60 or a 100? It's entirely up to you. How hard are you willing to work to fertilize your field? And if you want it to be fertile, you can have a good crop. Now, you have to be a bit courageous because he'll stretch you and it's uncomfortable and a bit unsettling, but it's how you grow. You have to have an attitude that God will bless you, because he will. He'll help you. And you have to be willing to change directions, to adapt to opportunities, to look for ways to take advantage of what comes your way, because it will come. You just need to be ready and trust that God will make of you more than you can make of yourself. He wants to. He wants you to be like him. He doesn't want you to be less than that. So anything less than that is what you're settling for. Don't do it. Which leads me to the next one. Watch your thoughts. I'm not talking about purity. You've got that one taken care of, I hope. What I'm talking about are the thoughts that you have in your brain that cut you short, that sell you at less than what you really are. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, sow a thought, reap an action, sow an act, and you reap a habit. Sow a habit, and you reap a character. Sow a character, and you reap a destiny. They are connected. Your thoughts drive what happens to you. There's a great book called As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. If I were suggesting a book to read, that would be one. It's free in the public domain, As a Man Thinketh, James Allen. Here's a poem that he did at the beginning of that book. Man is the master power that molds and makes, and man is mind. And evermore he takes the tool of thought, and shaping what he wills, brings forth 1,000 joys, 1,000 ills. He thinks in secret, and it comes to pass. His environment is but his looking glass. If you don't like where you are, check your thoughts. You may be creating exactly what you don't want. Watch your thoughts. They will guide you and make you who you will become. Item 6, be kind to others. We are in this together, folks. You need to be patient and slow to condemn. You need to lift and edify. People have enough critics. You be a lifter. It changes who you are. And as you do it, it's like casting your bread on the waters. It comes back to you after many days. The kinder you are, the more you will lift yourself. Which gets me to the last point. You need to think more about others than you do about yourself. I heard the other day that humility is not thinking less about yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. We spend so much mental and emotional time justifying ourselves to ourselves. You know how this conversation goes, right? In your head, it's something like somebody said something and it made you mad and you didn't respond well, so you spend the next 3 hours thinking of what you would have said or could have said, or boy, if I'd have said this, then they'd know, and you do that. It's wasted energy. Why do you do that? You will never have that conversation, right? It never happens. But we spend hours in the wasted effort going through our minds again and again, and the only thing it does is make us look at other people as less than they are. Don't do that. It'll set you up to do, to say, to act the wrong way. Think more about them. Spend your time thinking about how you might lift, how you might edify. Now, one thing I would suggest that you spend a good amount of time thinking about in terms of thinking about others is your family and your posterity. I know some of you don't have a family yet, but I've come to realize that part of our duty, yours and mine, no matter where we are in the family timeline, is it's our responsibility to work for the next generation. Think about it. When the Lord sent a people to another place, he was sending them to a promised land, but he always talked about their posterity. He never talked about them. I will send you to this land so that your posterity might be raised in righteousness, that they might have sufficient for their needs. Now, we are sitting on ground where our pioneer ancestors lived and worked and died, and I can tell you, they never sat as comfortably as we're sitting today. This is terrible ground as far as growing crops. If they wanted to grow crops, they'd stay in Nauvoo. This is like the worst dirt in the world. It's bad dirt. They broke 3 plows the very first day they were here, just trying to get the ground loose. And I can imagine some of them saying, and we left Nauvoo for this? It was hard for them to grow anything here because there were so many problems. They lived in dugouts. Those are mud houses, folks. And every time it rains, the mud drips down on you. That's not comfortable living. They left nice homes, nice farms. Why did they do that? Because they had a better condition here? Absolutely not. Their living condition here was worse. But they did it because they knew they were building the next generation. And so are you. You're building your next posterity, your next generation right now. So as you go to school, it's not just for you. It's for your posterity. As you build your faithfulness, it's not just for you. It's for your posterity. And in fact, the legacy that you will leave is to them. The life that they will lead will be because of you. So what kind of an inheritance will you make for your family? You've got a chance now to think about that and to work at it. I hope you will do just that. Now, tomorrow morning, I'll wake up and I'll be just like you on a brand new journey, just older, but in the same place. I'll have the same concerns and anxieties that you have about not knowing the future for sure and uncertainties. But brothers and sisters, if we have faith in God, he will direct you and help you. Listen to this scripture. I am the light and the life of the world. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. And as many as have received me, to them have I given to become the sons and daughters of God. Even so will I, to as many as believe on my name, for behold, by me redemption cometh. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. Ecclesiastes wrote, to everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under heaven, and he hath made everything beautiful in its time. He has certainly made everything beautiful in my time. May he make your time beautiful. We love you. God bless you. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.